greatest Israeli soldier the world has ever known.
Hello everybody. Sorry it's been a while since I made another video. I've had debates I've had to do and it's been pretty busy, but now that I've had those finished, I can finally work on the video. I just wanted to say that thank you all for watching my videos. I hope you really enjoy them. As you see, I'm moving on to VC now. Hopefully it can stay this way, but if I need to do text, I will probably do that. But now that I have VC, yeah, it will be better. Anyway, so the topic today we're going to be covering is 𝙎𝙏 versus the Jurassic Park 3 Decapitated Spinosaurus. Yes, they are the same. We're going to cover this topic because I just feel like it's a highly debated one. It's actually really close. Even though, I do think 𝙎𝙏 wins this fight, I think it's still a very close fight because just like based off what we are shown and what's been stated. But, I think importantly that we should probably go first with why 𝙎𝙏 beats Spinosaurus. And then we'll go into then I'll try and debunk or counter argue reasons that people say that, Spinosaurus beats 𝙎𝙏 in turn. I also just want to say that Spinosaurus is just not a very good dinosaur when it comes to power scaling. If you want to get into power scaling, please just do not read the Spinosaurus. His arguments are just not very good, and they just don't logically follow as much as the other dinosaurs. I'll show in this video that it's literally just the logic is way better on 𝙎𝙏's side than Spinosaurus' side. He's not a very good dinosaur to power scale. It's just not good. It's just no. I've already been most Spinosaurus fans. I've only lost actually a couple times on Spinosaurus debate, mostly 2 times, probably because they were higher tier, I can't remember. But yeah, they're not very good. Also, my Discord username is 𝙎𝙼𝙏𝙄𝙁. No capitals, just 𝙎𝙼𝙏𝙄, no spaces, nothing like that. If you want to come debate or discuss any of my arguments or even topics, just make sure to add up and I will be happy to have a friendly discussion or debate with you. Also worth mentioning, if you send a long paragraph in the bottom of the comment section, I'm not going to reply to it, okay? I'll probably just tell you to add up my Discord, because I'm not debating in a random YouTube comment section. I only debate on Discord, so if you want to discuss or debate anything, you're gonna have to add my Discord, and I'm not doing this on YouTube Shorts. I'm sorry, but, yeah. You need to listen and read, and you need to add my Discord instead of just commenting in the YouTube Shorts not YouTube Shorts, just a YouTube comment section. But yeah, that's all I'd have to say. Guess we'll get on to the arguments now. We need to first address to justify that 𝙎𝙏 beats the Spinosaurus is her narrative above the Spinosaurus. In an interview I will show, Scott Kramer openly states that he always wanted the Spinosaurus to come back and for a T-Rex or 2 of them to beat the Spinosaurus. And another statement saying that he wanted 𝙎𝙏 to get the last laugh. By definition, the term getting the last laugh is an idiom describing ultimate victory or vindication after initial doubt, failure, or ridicule, where one triumphs, making critics, aka probably Spino fans or even the Spinosaurus in general, look foolish. But 𝙎𝙼𝙏𝙄𝙁, it's said that he wanted 2 T-Rexes to beat him, so that doesn't mean that 𝙎𝙏 is above him. This argument is probably one of the worst I've seen, since we know that 𝙎𝙏 did all the work for beating the Spinosaurus. Little 𝙎𝙏 was a non-factor in the final fight, and even if you want to say he got distracted by Little 𝙎𝙏, we literally see him looking at 𝙎𝙏 before she attacks and then runs away. It's also stated that Spino ran away because of 𝙎𝙏 and not Little 𝙎𝙏, which makes this argument fail immediately. If you want to even add more validity and evidence to these statements in the narrative, we can just look at the instances in the show to add more justification to the narrative. Instances between these two: in the start of the clip, we see 𝙎𝙏 and Spino both charge each other. In the pond, Spino goes for an attack from above and should have the leverage over 𝙎𝙏 via her hunkering down and him being taller and trying to bite down on her. But as we see in the scene, 𝙎𝙏 attacks faster, bites on his neck, and throws him down into the water, overpowering him and attacking faster than him. Later, we see in the same thing, but this time it ends in a stalemate. But once again, 𝙎𝙏 is hunkering down and Spino has the leverage, and yet all he can muster is a stalemate. In the second clip, Spino is exiting mind control. I will get into why this is a nerf. Spino regains control of his whole body, visually shown by his eyes. But anyway, he returns towards 𝙎𝙏 and just roars at her, doesn't decide to attack, leading to 𝙎𝙏 pushing him against a tree and even stunning him. We see 𝙎𝙏 and Little 𝙎 start to press Spino. It's worth mentioning, as I've already said, Little 𝙎 was no factor, and we can obviously see that in this clip. Anyway, 𝙎𝙏 charges at Spino again. He goes in for a bite, misses. 𝙎𝙏 goes low again and pushes him up and throws him again. Spino then gets up and runs off, not to be seen again. So yeah, basically from these showings, we can conclude the fact that 𝙎𝙏 is the more powerful character. but gigaprods. Spino is mind control, so this doesn't matter. I do see this argument a lot from Spino Goons, but the fact of the matter is that mind control is unnerved to a certain degree. I'm not going to get much into it, but basically mind control doesn't physically limit a character's capabilities because you have no way to prove that it is. Also, the animals are very conscious of their surroundings, of what they are doing. Also, people who argue that the humans are controlling the dinosaurs hinders their combat skill, even though it's commonly seen that the bottom button is usually pressed before the animals attack, meaning that each button on the controller is a different meaning. But it's sometimes the person using the controller can give a specific control, like when one of the investors made the Spino hunker down to let him get on his back. I won't get much into it, but I can either make another video explaining why it isn't a nerf, or you guys can go check out my friend King of Prehistory's video on the Spinosaurus agenda. He'll probably explain it better than me. The link to the video will be shown in my bio. I will show the evidence of these instances, as I've already said. So number one, the Spinosaurus being started when thrashing around on Ben falls on its head. The controller wasn't touching it, any of the buttons. This just means that the Spinosaurus is just shown to be physically capable of being conscious and also can just break free from the mind control. Well, not exactly break free, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. The bottommost button being used to signal attack commands quite consistently on 𝙀𝘼𝙏𝙄𝙀, Spino, Toro, and even Bumpy. The animals roaring, hissing, and eliciting sounds of pain with any failing instinctive reactions. The red highlight on the animal's screen flaring up every time a command is issued, which implies that an order or decision has been given. I think after explaining that 𝙀𝘼𝙏 narrative and showings, we can get onto the arguments that Spino fans use against 𝙀𝘼𝙏. I think I'll now cover the arguments that people try and say that Spino beats 𝙀𝘼𝙏. The first argument that I've seen very recently is quite probably the worst argument, to be honest. The argument that people try and come up with is that Darius's voice actor said in an interview that 𝙀𝘼𝙏 had help, and that's the only reason she beat the Spino. First off, we would have to prove that voice actors hold validity into determining the canon of the franchise as a whole, and they try to argue sometimes that they know the script. Like, bro, literally a random worker on the set can know the script, but that doesn't give them authority. It doesn't. Like, it really doesn't. And this argument falls flat when you realize 𝙀𝘼𝙏 had no help at all besides a single time when two raptors jump on the Spino's back and immediately jumped off to fight the Dimorphodon. And if you try to argue that Little E was the only one who helped her, is against stupid, because I've already disproved that. And the next argument that I will see is that Spino is a T-Rex killer. That this means that he can beat any T-Rex. And the other statement that says that say T-Rex has no chance against Spinosaurus, blah blah blah, you get it. Also, I don't have to get much into this argument. The problem with the argument, though, is that being a T-Rex killer doesn't necessarily validate that you can soul any T-Rex. There's no valid inference rule that justifies this necessity being the case. A T-Rex killer can just mean somebody who is an individual that has killed a T-Rex, which is consistent in the movie. Nothing in the movie implies anything about the Spino being able to beat every T-Rex across the entire franchise. Like, if I go out and kill your average man on the street, and I get the title of being a man killer, does this mean I can beat every man on Earth? No, it doesn't. And to the point of a T-Rex not being able to stand a chance against Spino, 𝙀𝘼𝙏 literally retcons this, so this argument falls flat. And even Bull, who's Spino high def, which I already proved in my Gig Over Spino video. Anyways, Bull is stated to have the capacity to kill Spino, which would immediately retcon every single argument here. The next argument I see is that people try and argue that C Spino and JP3 Spino aren't the same, because loosely confirming that the intent was for them to be the same, and what Universal rejected it in that case of JP3 Spino line. But Universal rejected it in case a JP3 Spino storyline would appear in the future, so CC wouldn't retcon or shake up the story. This argument is not really the best, but I do see it a lot. But the statement says that they want JP3 and CC Spino to be treated as potentially different, just to avoid restricting future story possibilities. But since no JP3 Spino storyline or sequel has ever happened, that reasoning falls flat. And there's nothing to stopping us from accepting that they're the same Spino. Essentially, since the creators intended it that way and Ken never contradicts it, if Universal really wanted to show two different Spinos, they would have just said that, but instead they leave it ambiguous. This just doesn't make sense within the canon as well, for three different reasons. For the first reason, JP2 Spino is considered to be an amalgamation. It would make any logical sense to make another amalgamation. They would have most likely made a more accurate version to how Spino looks like in verse. Why would they bring the Spino from Ixosorna to Manticorp? For the second point, why wouldn't they bring the Spino from Ixosorna to Manticorp? They brought two T-Rexes and multiple other creatures like a Stegosaurus and Ceratosaurus, so why wouldn't they just bring the Spino as well? For a third point, they couldn't have just made a new one, because they would have to get the JP3 Spino's DNA, and that would require tranquilizing it and taking its DNA. But why wouldn't they just capture and take it to the Manticorp Island if they already have it tranquilized? So yeah, basically they aren't the same because it makes more sense in the canonical timeline, and with no JP3 storyline being continued now for the reason his colors and roar change. I couldn't tell you the most logical thing to assume that maybe the environment, like the desert, changes color via adaptation or evolution, but I don't know. And for the roar, yeah, CC's just weird with their roars. They changed the Baryonyx roar as well, and I think they also made the Spinosaurus change and another species, but I can't remember. But yeah, they are the same Spino. Another argument I see is that people try and argue that Spino is being malnourished and weakened form, being in the desert. This argument is, as you guessed, dog shit. We literally see the Spinosaurus sunbathing and acting like its normal self in the desert, so this wouldn't make any sense. And we know that Manticore feeds their dinosaurs, so him being malnourished makes no sense. I think that the base of this argument comes from the statement that Scott Creamer says Spino was malnourished and weakened. In CC, because of him being in the desert, you would have to justify the validity of this statement, but again, the statement would just be retconned by what we see on screen. Also, I think that was most of the arguments that are presented whenever this topic is put into discussion. If I missed any, let me know in the comment section. Now, if you actually listened and understood my arguments, then it should be obvious that Big D should win this fight with high difficulty, or I could even argue mid-high difficulty just because of how the two perform against each other. Anyway, if you don't agree with my take or on this or any of my takes, you can add up my Discord and I'll be willing to discuss or debate a topic. Again, don't go and type a long ass comment in the comment section because I'm not going to reply with a contention. I'm just going to tell you to add my Discord. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and make sure you give any suggestions in the comment section for any Monsterverse or Jurassic World topic, and would be happy to make a video on it. Anyways, God bless you all, and I hope you have a good rest of your day or night. GigaProds out.